expressed in this show belong to the person expressing them. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of Rancher or any other entity.
Wifebot's going crazy. Help! Help! Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee and Cloud Native, the show that shares news and interesting content related to Kubernetes, Cloud Native, and other nifty technology. My name is Adrian Goins, and I am delighted to be here with you today. If you're watching live, consider following or subscribing to the channel. And if you're watching a replay, well, give the video a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm shares it with other people. Join the free community site and the Discord server. Links are in the video description. Well, I suppose the video description's also down there, right? But let's get some news scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So come join us either, during the show, after the show, and as you'll see in a minute, live chat's where the real action happens. We're giving out XP today, so if you've joined Discord, we award XP based on people who are talking. It's actually, there's a bot that does it. We don't do it. But today we're just giving away 1,000 XP to anybody who joins that has already reached level 2, because that means you've been here before. So whatever, just come hang out. We have so many people here today. It's just madness. It's so mad in the chat that I almost forgot to actually do the stuff I'm supposed to do to start the show. Wojtek. All right, Wojtek. So in exchange for that 1,000 XP... Oh. Uh-oh. The dogs just lit up. That sounds legit. You want to go deal with that? We have beagles who have been trying to invade the property this morning. My dogs don't like anything, but if there's anything that they particularly don't like, it's beagles. Wifebot's got it under control. Anyway, so good morning, Shipwreck. Oh yeah, so yeah, they heard Wojtek and they lit up. Absolutely. Add an avatar so that you don't look like just a little Discord bot guy thing. Duck. I gotta start making notes for these so that Wifebot remembers who to give XP to. Shipwreck. Good morning. Duck. Hello. If it was me, I'd let them out to eat the beagles, but she's trying to calm them down. Nuno. Hello. Ian P. Peter Keach. Who else do we got? We got Frank. James P. Did James get? I don't know if James got XP or not. James P. We'll write your name down as well. Frank got XP twice on accident because I handed off the reins and I didn't tell her who I'd already given XP to. Chrysalis. And everybody else. Try not to spend too much time calling out people's names. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, hello as well. And... oh, they're going crazy. Lisa, you should just take them out. Let them deal with it. If there's beagles inside the dog zone, they're done. Oh my gosh. Zerlgi, hello from YouTube. Okay, it sounds like YouTube might be a little bit behind everything else, so whatever. Welcome to the show. Let's get started. First of all, some news. This is the last show of 2020. If you're watching it live, today is Friday. If you're watching it not live, today is Monday. But regardless, it's the last show of 2020. Now, I'm still going to be doing stuff throughout the rest of the year. I'll make a couple of videos, at least one for sure. I promised a WordPress video, and I've been working with Polyverse to get some polyscripting into that, so you'll definitely see that. I also have a job, and then there's some automation stuff. But whatever, I'll be around. I'll still post tweets. Come say hi in Discord. I'm actually taking holiday for the last 10 days of the year, so if I'm not playing Elite Dangerous, I'll be sitting right here on vacation. And then, of course, today is, well, if you're watching live, today is Friday. And what does that mean? It means that if we get 50 viewers watching live between YouTube and Twitch, I will give away a Udemy course to someone in the live chat channel on Discord. And what are we giving away today? Today, we are giving away the Complete Traffic Training course, because that's what everybody said they still want to win in the month of December. This is the Complete Traffic Training course by Brian Christner. It's endorsed by Traffic Labs, and every time I come back here, it still has high rating and more students. It's a great 100% comprehensive way to learn everything about Traffic V2. I don't know why I'm holding a pen. I will trade that for a stylus. I think beagles are being eaten outside. So if you want to win, it's easy. Just join the Discord server, and there's links to that in the bottom of the description, and in the the news. Join the live chat channel. When Wifebot says we've hit 50 people, I'll start the giveaway. She'll pin the message. Click the little ta-da icon under the giveaway to enter, and Ellie will announce a winner near the end of the show. Good luck, and may the odds be ever in your favor. How about content? Who wants content? Raise your hand. Me. I want content. Alrighty. It is time for the A/B test. The collector bots have gathered candidates for the show, and Trufflebot has scored them from 1 to 5 coffees, corresponding to a 75 to 100% probability of being interesting content. I love this show because nothing is guaranteed. It's probably interesting, but maybe it's not. He'll post them one at a time in the A/B test channel on Discord. I'll load them up. Anyone watching live can rate them in Discord. I'm hoping I don't have to run out there and disentangle a beagle from my dog. And oh shit. Y'all are gonna have to wait. I'm so sorry. Hi. Holy cow. You probably saw me outside the window with a gun. Okay, Wifebot's got that under control, we think. Hi, I'm really sorry I had to run away, but I live in a farm in a big piece of property, and sometimes stuff happens. I don't even know how many people are still here. Holy cow, I should have put the standby screen on. Anyway, where were we? We were going to start talking about content. Let's just do that. Man. I'm going to watch the video later. I'll probably edit that out. I don't know, somebody tell me in the chat, could you see the gun? Sequoia PGP. I had not heard of this. This is apparently, this has been going on for a while. This is a Rust implementation of OpenPGP. And I put it on the show because what they're actually doing looks interesting. And looking to see if anybody can see the gun. Don't edit it out. Anyway, what they're doing is interesting. Like, PGP has been around forever. OpenPGP came around after that to make it more open. And then there's some deprecated stuff, and they've just rebuilt it in Rust to take out a bunch of the deprecation, to make it a library that's easy to work with, and to implement a new key server and a bunch of other stuff. If you're older than, I don't know, mid-30s, you probably remember PGP. If you're younger than that, you've probably heard of it. If you're in your 20s, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Shit. The other gun. Come on, buddy. Foxtail, come on. Foxtail, come on, buddy. Come on. Come on. Okay, honey, stay here. Foxtail, stay here. Good dogs. Sorry, everyone. I'll be right there. Stand by. Okay, I'm back. There's a Rottweiler and a puppy. My dogs tried to eat both of them. Wifebot's out there trying to drive them away. They won't. They're hiding under my shipping container because my dogs are really scary, so I just brought my dogs back inside. Anyway, the gun you saw is actually an airsoft rifle, so don't think that we're out there actually shooting puppies, because we're not. But we do get animals that come onto the property, cows, dogs, all sorts of stuff, fishermen, and airsoft rifle is very effective at driving away animals that you don't want on the property. Anyway, Sequoia created a... This is the craziest show to end the year on. I might as well just stop the show, switch to the mobile camera, and you can watch us drive dogs off the property. Holy cow. Okay. So there's a this we're done with this. OpenPGP implementation in Rust. They finally released 1.0. When I decided to put it on the show, I thought that it was actually a complete command line replacement for OpenPGP. However, it's just a Rust library. So I don't know if they're going to do... Oh, man. I don't know if they're going to... I don't know if... I don't know. I'm going to move on. Vote for the darn thing. Let's move on. Oh my God. Okay, so it's been a bad week for security. We had FireEye got compromised. They figured out that the FireEye compromise happened because of SolarWinds. When I had that on the show, I think I actually said that whatever, I somehow correlated SolarWinds with FireEye. SolarWinds is not a FireEye product, I don't think. SolarWinds is how FireEye got owned. FireEye's red team tools got stolen. That's bad, but it looks like upwards of 10,000 other things, people, companies, stuff that they've been able to identify already have also gotten owned. It's a really bad compromise. But that's not what this is about. This is from a cybersecurity research company, pretty sure in Israel, that has figured out that they can exploit DDR-S DRAM buses to generate electromagnetic emissions in the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band and encode binary data on top of it. Now, it has an actual bit rate of somewhere between 1 and 100 bits per second, so it's very slow. It only has a range of a few meters, but regardless, if you have a completely air-gapped system that's within a few meters of something with a Wi-Fi antenna, if somebody's able to compromise that system, and here's where it gets a little fuzzy, because if it's air-gapped, how did you compromise it? Regardless, let's say you can just get malware on it somehow, it can actually exfiltrate data by doing weird electromagnetic sensor stuff. This is like James Bond stuff. They have a really terrible demo video. It's like super shaky cam. But cool. And these are the kinds of things. There's actually a lot of security in today's show. In fact, I'm just going to stay here since I took time away from you all. So if you all can stay longer than the 30 minutes, you're welcome to. We'll go a few extra minutes, assuming I don't have to run off again and help WifeBot. So this is cool and scary at the same time, and just shows that like we are in not just a brave new world, but a brave, terrifying world where there are things that are possible that are just like, what? And there are organizations figuring out how to do things. There's more content coming up in a second that will... My dogs hear the dogs yelling outside, and they're yelling in the room next door. I actually had to carry Shelby into the house because when she's in bitey mode, God save whatever's on the other side of it. In the land of home automation, I did not realize that Home Assistant is actually now shipping on hardware, and they're not the only ones that are doing it. We had Apilio on the other day, where I said if you don't have infrastructure for an internal environment, then Apilio might be a good choice. This came up the next day, and I thought it was interesting. If you don't have infrastructure for a home environment, but you still want home automation, well, now you can just buy it pre-configured. They've got a couple different systems here. The Hoop system I'm not interested in because I personally use Home Assistant, though I also use a very small piece of Home Assistant. I can't say anything good or bad about Hoobs. So it's not that it's bad, it's just I don't know anything about it. The Home Assistant Blue is powered by an Odroid N2 Plus with a 6-core CPU and 128 gigabytes of flash storage. That's okay, that's pretty robust. So you can buy these things pre-configured, and then the article goes on to talk about the value of running this stuff inside your house. For example, Home Assistant and Homebridge-based network systems, Home Assistant and Homebridge-based systems often work even when there's an internet or cloud outage because everything is inside and it interfaces directly with your devices. I think anybody who ever bought a smart device and figured out that when the internet is down, it doesn't work, like your front door lock, like that's important. Probably would appreciate transitioning to this. And Home Assistant has done a lot over the last few years to become more user-friendly. Not totally convinced that it's like mom-friendly, but it's pretty close. I think my mom could probably figure out how to make it talk to her Hue bulbs or turn on her microwave or whatever smart devices my mom has in her house. But remember, she's working on her service mesh. So this is cool. Maybe there's still time to get one of these for Christmas for a family member or a loved one who is terrified by the concept of a Raspberry Pi. Well, y'all didn't like that at all. That's terrible. Okay. How about this then? We had CVE 2020-8554 on a few days ago that talked about how somebody could make a service in Kubernetes and then change the external IP to point to something outside of the cluster and then intercept all traffic destined for that external IP. Cilium has been working to deploy as a CNI and actually replace kubeproxy, which replaces all of the IP tables components, moves everything into eBPF, and is much faster, but also not susceptible to this sort of stuff. IP tables will happily do whatever it needs to do anything. It doesn't really care, which is how this sort of a CVE came to pass. Whereas Cilium, when you're running it with kubeproxy disabled, that's an important caveat there. Like, you can't just slap Cilium on top of the thing. You actually need to deploy it as your CNI and intentionally disable kubeproxy, which is fine. Just do it when you're deploying a Kubernetes cluster if you're doing it in a place where you can. It's just, it defaults to zero trust. So it's, by defaulting to zero trust, it doesn't allow things that can be twisted into other things. You have to explicitly permit stuff that you want to do. And so something like this CVE, which is a combination of a bunch of different areas of, not oversight like paying attention to, but a bunch of different areas where somebody's not paying attention, you would have been totally protected. I think I like that much better. It's funny to see what the community likes and doesn't like. Okay, I'm sure that all of you are going to hate this. No? I already saw yesterday in the chat that people were going nuts over this. This was announced yesterday. There was a meetup on it 2 days ago. So if you go to the Rancher YouTube channel, you can actually watch the whole hour and something long meetup where Sheng and William did an explanation of Harvester and then a full deployment and demonstration of it. So you can see how to get it up and running and what the value is. This is hyper-converged infrastructure running on top of Kubernetes. So it abstracts away the Kubernetes bits, and you can think of it as a replacement for vSphere or Nutanix or any other HCI type deployment, where you can deploy virtual machines directly into Kubernetes that's installed on bare metal when you have hardware virtualization support on the bare metal infrastructure itself. You can do it into a Kubernetes cluster that is in VMs if you have nested virtualization, but you're going to see a pretty big performance drop. The idea here is that Kubernetes brings a lot of orchestration and networking and security components in that apply directly to the stuff you want to do with virtual machines and HCI. So Rancher has built an HCI layer that just sits on top of Kubernetes, leverages those things, and exposes a UI where people can deploy virtual machines, VLANs, firewalls, all sorts of stuff. This is a 0.1.0 release. Do not put this in production. It's a development preview. It's still under active development, but we want it out there so that people, Rancher wants it out there. Remember, this is not Rancher show. I have to wear my not Rancher hat. Rancher wants it out there so that people can look at it, test it, play with it, and give feedback on it. Finally caught my breath. A while ago, we had ZFS local PV from OpenEBS on the show, but it was in like 0.7 or 0.8, still under active development. I put it on because I thought it was interesting, but as of 1.2, which they released recently, 1.2.1 came out 3 days ago, it is now GA. I'm not exactly sure where this sits because it's still local PV. So local PV is a persistent volume storage solution that I don't want to use because it allocates storage directly on a node, binds a workload to that storage, but then keeps it there forever. So if that node goes away, well, you know, your device can't run anywhere else. For me, that's just an expectation that at some point in the future I'm going to have headache. There are probably places where local PV is useful. I don't personally know. If you have an idea for that, please throw it in the chat. But local PV in itself is pretty bare bones. This is a ZFS implementation on top of local PV, does multi-node ZFS pooling, and then works to distribute local PV stuff to not to stack volumes up on a single node and to remove you from having to decide where things should be. ZFS already has a bunch of other value on top of that. So I still think that this is interesting. Obviously, OpenEBS has put a lot of time and energy into it, and Lifebot's back. It's put a lot of time and energy into it. So if you have a use for it, please, take it for a spin. How many people do we have watching? Does anybody know? Oh, somebody called my name out. Oh, 37 was the top today. Yeah, probably because for a big portion of it, you saw me running outside doing not stuff about Kubernetes. This is the show about Kubernetes, cloud natives, and wild animals invading the property. I kid you not. I looked outside, it was like a year ago. I looked outside my window one day, and there were like 15 cows just standing outside my window eating my grass. Yeah. Well, you know what? We didn't see a thing. Okay. Next. Little lightweight content here. We'll go through this very quickly. I've been using for years, which is why I still use it, Docker images, pipe grep this to extract the ones that are, that have none, or the containers that exited, then piping that to awk and extracting it, and then piping that to xargs to remove a bunch of stuff. And I never realized that at some point Docker just added a bunch of prune functionality directly into the Docker command. I discovered this 2 days ago, and so I was just happy with Docker container and Docker image prune, and Michael pointed out that you can also just do Docker system prune if you want to prune everything. That's a little bit too much trust in Docker for me, but regardless, this is a cool command, and somebody just shouted my name out again. I have a mobile camera. I could have taken it at least out to there. Max says he wants Adrian to wear a body cam. It'll be like one of those Axon police camera videos. Man. 40. Well, we're still going to stay for a few extra minutes. So, you know what? How many people do we actually have? I'm just going to do it anyway. It's the end of the year. We only have like 2 minutes. Everybody's going to drop off at 10 because they have meetings and stuff. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. What do you guys think? Waiting for people to tell me if they want. Oh, okay. So Nuno already tweeted it out. All right. We're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it short, though. How much more stuff do we have left in the queue? AB, do I have a queue command? I think I made a queue command. 10 items left in the queue. Okay, we're going to run for 10 more minutes. And so that means that I'm going to go ahead and run the giveaway anyway for 10 minutes. There you go. Giveaway live in the live chat. Because you all sat around and waited for me to come back, and I really appreciate that. Oh my God, Shia LaBeouf. Okay. There you go. Giveaway live. Giveaway running. If you've joined late, what are we giving away today? We are giving away the complete traffic training course from Brian Christner, endorsed by Traffic Labs. And now back to your regularly scheduled content. Oh, I need to vote on that. That was really helpful for me, so I'm going to vote on that. This one is interesting. This is for the Windows folks. And it didn't paste a link? Oh no. Did I break the TruffleBot by asking it to... Okay, hang on. Let me get you a link. No, TruffleBot's not broken. Where's my terminal window? Core DNS. Endpoint security hinges, smart devices. I'm looking for the link for this. Where the heck did it go? There it is. All right. There's your link. This is interesting. Not a Microsoft person, not a Windows person, but in Kubernetes clusters, and when I first looked at this, I was like, this is totally wrong. But I think there's actually value here. In a Kubernetes cluster, if you're using an external DNS provider that speaks over an API, then you can run external DNS, and then you can have DNS records created in that external zone file for your workloads. Primarily, you would use that for like ingress controllers, ingresses, and then optionally services. Imagine you're running in an environment where you have a Windows Active Directory server and you want things from outside the Kubernetes cluster to be able to talk to things. Well, AD, as far as I was able to find this morning, doesn't have an API that allows you to plug things in. There's probably some kludgy middleware. This uses a combination of a thing called Kate's Gateway with a delegated zone inside of the Active Directory DNS server to point stuff at a dedicated core DNS workload running on your Kubernetes cluster. So you have the internal core DNS. This is a second core DNS with Kate's Gateway. And when workloads are created inside of the cluster, Kate's Gateway registers a DNS entry in core DNS inside the cluster. That's listening outside of the cluster, and the external AD server receives requests for the delegated zone, forwards that to the core DNS implementation, gets a reply, and now everybody in your office can hit workloads based on a friendly name. I think that's cool. I can totally see where this is valuable and viable. And in fact, while looking for how an Active Directory environment with Kubernetes, I mean, obviously if you're using Azure, like you don't need all of this, but in an office environment, I can see it. There's this implementation, but without Kate's Gateway, is actually recommended by Microsoft when using big data workloads inside of Kubernetes. For the very same reason, because you can't get zone files out. So they have a core DNS implementation that actually sits as a proxy and does split DNS for stuff going in and out. Anyway, interesting. Microsoft wonderfulness. Moving on. If you use InfluxDB and you don't use Grafana, InfluxDB has a whole thing called the tick stack that's Telegraph, Influx, something else, and something else. Obviously, I don't use it. It caught my attention, though, because if you are standardized on Influx, then having everything bundled in one solution might be useful. This particular article, whether you're using Influx and Telegraph and whatever their other things are. I keep wanting to say Confluence, and I know it's not that. This article is about a situation that they encountered where they discovered an exposed endpoint without authentication enabled, even though it had been enabled, and they decided to build a security state template that you can deploy into Influx. I don't know why I'm highlighting all of that. That basically does polling of endpoints and will show if authentication is active, if authentication works, if the endpoint is available, that's helpful too, and if the certificate is valid for more than 30 days. It'll change to yellow if the cert is less than 30 days. Totally applicable for places that can't renew their certificates. I have mixed feelings about it. Super valuable, and in your monitoring system, you should absolutely have something that detects these things so you don't find yourself, bitten in the behind by unexpected events. However, the thing that I don't like about this is that it requires, in order for the authentication works thing to work, you have to give it some password. And most basic auth type stuff, I mean, I suppose you could configure it where that user has like limited privileges. That's just extra work. And it's more likely that somebody's just going to be like, oh, I'll just put my admin password in there. And now you have that, in an external system just being used to validate if it works. So I don't really like that. I would be satisfied just knowing that authentication is on, and that's good enough for me. If the authentication isn't working, we'll probably figure that out some other way. Regardless, whether you use Influx and all of their stuff, or whether you use Grafana, or whether you use whatever, having something like this, particularly around certificates, is useful. We'll do this one very quickly. I have lots of smart devices, and I also have a large solar implementation. Researchers have figured out a modification to photovoltaic chemistry that can allow a small amount of power from ambient light in an indoor environment, targeting smart devices as they become more prolific to be able to charge from regular light inside of a house instead of having to buy and replace batteries all the time. Because batteries are an environment killer. But they're so important. Google created a thing. The end. Google created a thing. It's a foundation, so it's a foundation. And people are, booing about it. But the idea is actually quite sound. And they want feedback on it. The idea here is that there are open source projects that larger projects rely on. It's a sheep. And in many cases, those open source projects are just run by one or two people as like a spare side project. Take OpenSSL, for example. I don't know what its current state is, but back when we started getting OpenSSL vulnerabilities, Heartbleed and all of those other things, OpenSSL was run by one dude on donations. And he basically just lived off of ramen and had for the previous 20 years or whatever. That's not uncommon. So Google has created a foundation to fund those those upstream projects that things are dependent on. The critical open source projects that we all use every single day and that live behind the scenes. People, of course, freaked out because their rating system they think is biased or inappropriate or whatever. Okay, they're trying to figure it out. The core concept, I think, is actually quite good. I would love to see those people be rewarded, compensated, taken care of, recognized, honored for what they enabled in the world around us. The stuff that we literally use every single day that some dude may have never been thanked for. How are we doing on time? I think we're probably going to have a winner here in a minute. I see people shouting out my name again over there. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, yeah. Dead sheep. Yeah, somebody dumped a dead sheep near my house. It's on the other side of the river over there. It's disgusting. We went out for a walk yesterday, and you're walking down the road, and you're like, oh, what? Big old rotting sheep carcass. Bet that's not going to happen where we move to the suburbs in the United States. If you are a developer and you're starting out, you're trying to figure this stuff out, I'll just post this up as a link later. There's a bunch of free or generous free tier services where you can host your stuff. One of them in here I actually had in my analysis of edge solutions, and that's Fly. Fly, I think, is super cool. They have all of these edge environments, and so they're like a combination development, hosting, CDN place. They push your stuff out to edge nodes, and there's a bunch of other services that they have. So there's other things in here, Vercel, Fleek. I don't know any of these other than Fly. GitHub Pages, I know that one. This is cool if you want to figure out a place to host your stuff while you're figuring out how to do things. I heard my name again. Does that mean we have a winner? Stack Clash! Stack Clash has won today's giveaway. Woohoo! Congratulations! Stack Clash is one of the people who said that we should still do the giveaway. All right, I'll reach out to you after the show, and we'll figure out how to make that happen. Congrats. Next up, AWS App Mesh Controller for K8s. Hooray! This allows you to control App Mesh resources for a Kubernetes cluster and injecting sidecars into Kubernetes pods from within Kubernetes. I probably would have said more about it, but we don't have any time. Note that you can click on their live docs link, which takes, I don't know, what's the opposite of live docs? Dead docs? Old docs? Docs that nobody updates anymore? This just looks like docs to me. And it's recursive, because you can keep clicking on it, and it keeps taking you to the same page. I have other stuff in here that's neat. Okay, this is interesting. There are two things that are interesting about this. Thing number one is... Whoops. I was supposed to actually, oh, there we go. It's a PDF. Thing number one, you can't actually see this here, but if you're in the live chat, notice that this place still uses Cold Fusion. I didn't know that anybody still used Cold Fusion. Cold Fusion was a whole development framework and programming web hosting language thing from the 90s. Well, they still host their stuff on Cold Fusion. Thing number two. Joint communication to the European Parliament and the Council, the EU's cybersecurity strategy for the digital decade. Holy cow. Yesterday, well, actually, you'll see it in the tweets from today because it was in yesterday's content. The Department of Defense released their secure technical implementation guide for Kubernetes. And like, you know me, I'll point out when somebody does something wrong. And I'm not afraid to tell anybody anything, as many of you have seen. In my tweet, I actually mocked the US DoD because their secure technical implementation guide for Kubernetes is like 4 pages long, 3 of which are describing what Kubernetes is, and the 4th one says, in order to secure Kubernetes, make sure Kubernetes is secure. Thank you very much. Mic drop, DoD. This is not that. This is huge and well worth reading to understand what the European Union plans for the EU member states related to secure government communications. There's some stuff in here, like let me just scroll down to page 7. They're talking about the European Union governmental satellite communications, a component of the space program, will provide secure and cost-efficient space-based communication capabilities to ensure the security and safety of critical missions and operations managed by the EU and its member states, including national security actors and EU institution bodies and agencies. Space-based communication, forward thinking, nice. On page 10, something that's a little bit more alarming, they talk in the earlier part of the document about, oh wow, it's 10:12, whatever. They talk in the earlier part of the document about how the internet's becoming fragmented and countries are setting up firewalls and becoming islands. And they're actually talking about kind of doing the same thing, but for the EU, but they specifically relate it to DNS. They identify that, of course, we know that the DNS root servers are not a single point of failure, but a multiple point of failure. They're a critical component that is not as well protected as it should be. I don't know. They're doing... Not to say that people aren't looking at that, but like it's a big deal. In order for DNS to work, we need those. And here they're actually talking about building, it's page 10. I have notes. They're actually talking about building a DNS for EU, European DNS resolver service to withstand attacks on the actual root zone servers. A lot of really interesting stuff in here showing the things that they want to do and their recommendations for what will be coming over the next decade. Definitely worth reading. We're going to do one more, and then we're going to do tool of the day. This is okay. This is not as exciting as one to end on. We talk about service mesh. Service mesh is all over the place. Aspen Mesh makes a service mesh, and they have an ebook about how to get the most out of your service mesh. Because service mesh is not applicable in all places, but it is applicable in more places than you might realize. So I didn't download this. I'm hoping that it's generic enough that you can apply it to learning about service mesh in general. And then let's actually do one more. And hopefully it'll be a good one to end on. It's an okay one to end on. It's an interesting idea. This is from, who is this from? Global Sign. But if you ignore that, their recommendation is actually that IoT devices use PKI to register and enroll and identify and secure their communications. I think that's a super idea. I think there's a bunch of IoT stuff in that EU thing from a moment ago. You've seen IoT legislation pass in the last 2 weeks. Security is like huge, especially, with people getting owned over SolarWinds and stuff. Everybody knows that IoT correlates to insecure. They're going to do something about that. And there's all these proposals that are coming out. This one, while it's going to be a heavier lift, I can see that this taking hold. I can see this getting a foothold in the enterprise. PKI infrastructure, which a lot of enterprises already have, IoT enrollment, MTLS, recognizing, that communication from a device is actually from the device, doing what it's allowed to do, integration with service mesh. You all sometimes mock the fact that I put IoT stuff on the show. I'm telling you, 2021, you're going to see all of this start to converge. More and more IoT devices are out there. It's a big deal. Lots of people are going to be trying to solve this. It's an interesting read about how they ignore the global design pitch, but how it's going to require leveling up the education of operators in enterprise environments so that they understand how PKI works, so that they can manage a certificate authority, so that they can monitor and keep all this stuff up to date, all the MTLS aspects of it. For you, if you're watching the show, if you understand how PKI works, put that on your resume. There's value there. Okay, we're going to rock and roll. We still got 4 coffees for today's show. Woohoo! And let's move on to today's tool of the day. Today's tool of the day is Tor controller. I haven't talked about Tor. Tor has a place in the world. Just don't torrent over Tor. Don't be mean. Don't be rude. Tor controller builds a Tor endpoint within your Kubernetes cluster and connects services to the Onion network. It's super easy to use. I deployed it this morning just with their examples. You don't need to have anything else going on. You don't need to have Tor running on your cluster. Like, it takes care of all of the everything for you. I was a little concerned by the fact that it's 3 years old, but like, other than securing Tor itself, connecting to the network is, well, whatever. It's 3 years old. I can't vouch for what's going on inside of there. Hopefully it's secure enough. But if all you're looking to do is to appear on the Onion network for inbound stuff, I think probably the 3 years old thing is irrelevant. So you deploy an Onion service. Go with their exposing a deployment with a fixed address. There's a deployment. We just deployed the Echo server, and then you create an Onion service that points to that deployment, just like you would create a normal service, and then it returns. Let's actually jump out to my terminal here. Wrong window. So it returns an Onion address, and if I switch my browser out to the Tor browser, give me just a second here. Switch that to Tor browser. Then, so any of you who are actually watching, I'll paste this in the chat. If you just happen to have the Tor browser running in your environment, I'll paste this in live chat so that everybody can see it. You can drop that into the Tor browser, and you will be connected back to a service running here in my house. It's just the Echo server, but you can see, so there's the pod information not available, so HTTP app, blah, 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 whatever. If I were to copy that and jump back over to the terminal, where does it live? Does it live in Tor system? Nope, that's not. It lives in default. I'm already in default. HTTP app, there it is right there. This is the other one that I was playing with earlier. So that's, I think, pretty cool if you have anything. Also a great way to expose stuff from behind 16 layers of NAT, like I am on one of my internet providers. So there you go. Tor, what's it called? Tor controller? Tor controller for Kubernetes. And with that, we got to get out of here because it's like 10:20. It's super late. But that was a fun way to end the show. Mac being funny. That can't be right. Now you actually know where a Tor-based service is running. Well, yeah, you want to know where your Tor services are running. Don't do anything illegal. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching the madness. Links to everything I talk about on the show go up in the free community side after the show ends, although it's going to be much later today because now I'm really late and I got to start my workday. Community members get early access to the links, video replay, other exclusive content. It's free to join. The community is growing every day. If you have something you'd like me to consider for the show, post it in the community site, mention me in the post, or ping me on Discord or Twitter. One of the things I'm going to try and work on during the next couple of weeks is to get a way for people to submit stuff, not just through Discord and not through pinging me, but through a web page somewhere. Because it's like 1996, right? We got this internet thing. We can do that. Have a great day, everyone. Keep learning. I will see you in the new year. Stay safe, please. Enjoy your holidays. And stay caffeinated.